First up is Gabriel, and yeah, that's looking really good. I was hoping to find this full-size image in your folder, and I didn't see it in the zip file. I can see the I can see the texture okay um, in the my file, but the I don't know why this looks so dark, or if I'm missing a texture image there or something. And the render looked good, so if you could resubmit where I could see the rendered image bigger, that would be good. Just turn in that whole image file. But yeah, it looks like you got in here and painted, some detail. The eyeballs look good. You got some eyebrows painted on and some detail on the skin, which is nice. I think you could do, a little bit more variation around the eyes and those kinds of things. And then maybe just more general variation on some of the rest of the body. Next up is Amber, and I can see the image just from this thumbnail, but I don't have a full-size rendered image. And also, if we look at the Maya file, um, I don't have the texture images I need linked to this to be able to see the textures. If we look in the hypershade, and go under textures, you see they come out black, and the reason is if I click on one, you see, okay, here's one called baseofwagon.tiff, and you can see the path of where that is, and Maya is looking at that file. So one way to be able to kind of gather everything to include it is if you do file archive scene, um, it and do archive and close, it should save a zip file that includes the necessary support files like these. Also, these should move these to the source images directory of the project you're working on. It looks like these are all in Mudbox, and I would move those over. When you're ready to sort of package it all up together. But yeah, so since I don't have those, I can't see them in Maya. But based on the image we do have, yeah, it looks like you're making some good progress. A bit hard to see. I would say those colors are a bit bright and saturated, and probably too much specularity on there. I would turn down specular and maybe get some variety in the color. And but yeah, there's not too much I can do from looking at the thumbnail. Um, but it looks like you did get into Mudbox and paint stuff. So, but it's just obviously it's hard to judge from the small image. So yeah, if you want to resubmit, a larger rendered image and include the zip file that has all of your source images, then that would be great, and I could do a more thorough critique. Next up is Marcela, and I can see you've done some sort of fabric texture, which is good, and it looks like you've painted some detail in the face and hands, which is also good. Looks like you have kind of a leather texture on the shoes, and maybe it's too big for the size of those shoes. Again, I can't see this in Maya because I don't have the source images. So if I look here, I need these files like elephant, red leather, JPEG, and skin.tiff, etc. And you can see where they're held right now. And you might want to move those into the source images directory of the project you're working on. And then when you send me the file, do file archive scene, and it should uh, put it all into a zip file. But it's a good idea to move the source images into the source images directories first, and just double check before you send it that all those necessary files here, basically all these are the files you're going to want to make sure that are in there. And but yeah, I think it's pretty good progress. If we look at the shoes like that, what's the red leather one? If you try, you have repeat 4 and 4 here. Try upping these to 12 or 16 or something like that, and see if that leather texture gets smaller to the point where it looks better. Because right now the detail is very large compared to the size of the shoe. Um, So yeah, if you want to submit that stuff later, I'd be happy to look at it more. Next up is Crystal, and yeah, it's looking pretty good. You've got a lot of the room textured as well. There's a lot going on here, and that's good. I think if we look kind of closely at the skin, we can see that the detail is very large. So I think that, if that's like your sort of fine skin detail, I think you'd want it much, much smaller. So I'm going to go into the hypershade and actually let's select this and then click this little button right here, and that'll show me the material that's associated with that surface. And then a place 2D texture is just one by one, and let's go much bigger, like 128 by 128. I always go in multiples of 2. And now what you'll see is if we get a little closer, hopefully. Maybe I went too big, I don't know. I can't see that detail now. Let's try to go back a little bit. Let's try I don't know, 16 by 16. I think I went too far. Oops. Yeah, so now you're seeing that, yeah, I went much too big with 128. So now you're seeing it's something a little closer to what it would be, compared to the size of the skin. And one thing I'm noticing is some stretching on the nose here. Um, and let's take a look at the UV map. Let's just look at these side by side. And let's do panel UV editor. Guess that's all right. Yeah, I think you'd have to do more cuts to get rid of that. So I would just leave it. But I think what you could do to improve this is, get in there with Mudbox and paint some variation, maybe a little darker on the eyes, maybe give the lips a little bit more color, maybe something on the cheek, and just try to get some more variation and detail, especially on the face, but you can do it on other parts of the body as well. I think, and you've got, on here, you've got, I think there's some layout issues here. If we grab the UVs, a new polygon, unfold again, yeah, I think we get a little bit better layout there, and we'll have some less stretching. Um, but I think if this is supposed to be a fabric texture, and that's just one stripe of the fabric right there. If you can see that, it's hard to see that little difference of color right there. That's the cloth. It's just much that one little stripe is like, you know, one of these stripes, and that's just to be a tiny little fabric thing. So this is the one where I need to go really high in the repeat UV, like 128 by 128. And see, now you're seeing that pattern. Another thing on here, and the skin for that matter, but especially in the shorts, if it's blue, so I'm sort of guessing it's denim. Um, and if it's denim, because you can go even higher with this, but it wouldn't be so shiny. It looks like it's made out of plastic. So um, again, let's look at two panels side by side. Right mouse click there. Did you get that? I would go into the material and let's turn the specular color way down. And you see how that looks less shiny now? And you can leave it maybe a touch of it on, but most of that should be gone. And it's nice contrasting with the belt now, which does look shiny relative to that. And for the skin, you know, I would probably tone that down as well. It can have some shine to it, but probably not so much as you had. And then again, this kind of shirt, I would say you don't. And I don't know that I would even use blend for these, but I mean, you have the option to kind of dial that in to where you want it to be. And you can even paint specular map so that maybe certain parts are shiny, like, I don't know, if like sometimes parts of the face are shiny, like the nose or something might be shinier, or the lips might be shinier, so you could paint those a lighter color if in the specular map if you wanted to. And again, the hair might actually have some shine to it, but that looks like again too much, so you can tone that down as well. And I think it'd be great to get into Mudbox and really paint some texture on the hair. Find a nice brush, paintbrush that looks like a hair sort of stripes and get some detail going in there. Get some, an eyeball image to map on the eye. And yeah, it's good progress, but I think you could keep making some improvements and get it further.